The concept was first shown to the public in January of 1953. It was exciting to look at and attracted so much attention that GM decided to go ahead and produce it in limited quantities. It was GM's first sports car since 1914, although it could be argued that it really was not a sports car in the true sense of the word. The steering was slow. The suspension was very conventional. Acceleration was only adequate, but it had style and an unconventional fiberglass body. Hardly a revolutionary design, the Corvette stirred people's senses, but not enough to go out and buy the car. Sales for 1953 were some 120 units short of the 300 projected by GM marketing types. The obvious ingredient that was lacking, performance, carried into the 1954 model year. Bill Norris owns this very original example.
This car is a 1954 Corvette. There were no options in 54. You got what you bought. They had a soft top, they had a radio, they had a heater, they had side curtains. That's basically about it. It was a 235 cubic inch, 6-cylinder, rated at 150 horsepower with 3 single side draft carburetors. All 1954s had automatic transmissions, which was a 2-speed power glide. They came with wheel covers, 670/15, white wall tires, and all the early cars were white, polo white with sportsman's red interior. Late in the year, they offered some other colors. The cars, as delivered, ran about 75 miles an hour in the quarter mile in approximately 18.5 seconds, which was much quicker than anything that Chevrolet had ever built. They handled better than anything Chevrolet had ever built, and they still do for the year. The car handles fantastically. I've owned this car since 1975. I'm the third owner. I restored it. It's fun to drive. It's fun to be around. The car is delivered was $3,500 basically. I think they were $3,385 brand new. You could buy a 1954 passenger car Bel Air for about $1,900. The condition of the car and the originality definitely, makes the price. But this particular car, I would value it at right around $35,000. The rarity of a Corvette with a 6-cylinder in it, the first of a breed, and the styling are what make the car, give it its value at this point.
For Mike Ryan and his partner, restoration has been a long and trying ordeal.
This is a 54 Corvette. There were 3,460 of them made originally. We purchased the car about 3 years ago. It was in typical ratty condition for a car that had been exposed to weather and normal wear and tear. The car has been completely restored. It was a frame off, frame apart type restoration to as original specs as we could make it. The cost of the car originally was about $10,000, even in the deteriorated condition. We have probably an investment in parts and subcontract labor alone of somewhere around $26,000. The car was done mostly by myself and a friend, except for things like paint, machine work, and some of the more problematic things like chrome. We are very near completion right now. There are just a few details left to do. The value of the car is probably around $35,000. It's a little hard to place an exact value on a car like this, but around $35,000.
For 1955, Ford was going strong with the T-Bird, while the best Chevrolet could do was give the Corvette more performance with a V8 engine. A much-needed facelift did not happen. As a result, less than 700 cars were sold during the model year. (1956) brought a totally new appearance to the Corvette. Not only was the appearance changed, but the V8 engine had its output boosted, and Zora Duntov was improving the handling characteristics. The Corvette was taking on the appearance of a real sports car. By 1957, the Corvette was really flexing its muscles. It was doing well in competition, and sales were on the rise. Fuel injection was made available, allowing the engine to produce up to 283 horsepower. All this power was now transmitted through a new Borg-Warner 4-speed transmission. In competition, cars like the SR2 were creating a real roar with their powerful V8 engines on international tracks. Corvette was marking its place in racing history. (1958) saw the Corvette gain a couple hundred pounds, 2 inches in width and about 10 inches in length. We were led to believe that more was better. In the case of a Corvette show, more certainly is better. Let's observe the vet set in their natural habitat. Chevrolet sales totaled almost 1.5 million cars in 1959, with the Corvette representing less than 1% of that total. The biggest news in 1959 was all the rumors about what the 1960 model would look like. This 1959 Roadster is Snowcrest white with a frost blue interior. The restoration speaks for itself. As it turns out, there were few changes for 1960, most of them being mechanical. This near-perfect show car is a prime example, being a Duntov Award winner. In June of 1960, Briggs Cunningham took a team of 3 Corvettes to Le Mans for the 24-hour endurance race. The team included John Fitch, Duntov, and Bob Grossman. They headquartered in an out-of-the-way garage to prepare for the race. On race day, the cars were driven to the track, topping off the tanks on the way. Zora Duntov makes sure everything goes well. Practice time allowed the American drivers to familiarize themselves with the French race course, part of which is used as everyday roads. The race was a tough one, but one of the cars, with Fitch and Grossman at the wheel, managed to hang on and finish a very respectable 8th. The early 60s saw subtle changes being performed to the Corvette. 1962 brought the 327 engine and more horsepower. For Bob and Joyce Legate, to keep their example in prime condition meant a lot of hours and a lot of money.
We bought the car in June of '85, and we bought it from a fella who had owned it for 2 years prior to that and had done nothing but strip it. And when I bought the car, it was bare glass and nothing on it, completely stripped. All the parts were in one box. It was a giant jigsaw puzzle putting this back together. We took the body off, started from the frame up, and did all the fiberglass work myself. A friend of mine painted the car for me in my garage. It's a 327, 340 horse, 4-speed. Wow. When I bought the car, we paid $8,000 for it, and for the parts to restore the car, I've got another 9 into it for a total of 17. We did all the work on it ourselves, except for the chrome work, and I would estimate, well, let me put it this way, if somebody walked up and offered me $25,000 for it, I'd feel like I was getting a good deal and he was getting a good deal.
Fortunately for Chevrolet, 1963 saw a completely revamped Corvette, the Stingray. The new car got a fully independent rear suspension, lost its trunk, and received sweeping new body lines. The fuel-injected engine was now developing 360 horsepower in top form. The car could reach 135 miles per hour. You could buy a loaded car for just over $5,000. This contributed to the popularity of the 1963 model, with over 21,000 units sold. For racing, there was the Grand Sport. Lightweight, powerful, and awesome looking, the Grand Sport program was somewhat successful, but Chevrolet did not pursue it, and as a result, Ford grabbed all the headlines with the Cobra and GT40 through the mid and late 60s. Chevrolet enjoyed enough racing excesses during 1963 that they felt good about the 64 models. The divided rear window was gone, as were some of the fake vents and louvers. The 327 engine was putting out as much as 375 horsepower. These figures were released to keep up with the horsepower race going on in Detroit at the time. '65 saw the end of fuel injection and a sales peak of some 26,000 cars. In 1967, sales were down to 23,000 automobiles, but the horsepower war continued. Bigger engines required a redesign of the hood. Even without major design changes, the 67 is today a very desirable model. For Michael Vietro, the business of selling and servicing Corvettes has been very successful.
This is a 1967 red 427, 400 horsepower with factory air. The car is also equipped with factory side exhaust, aluminum bolt-on wheels, red striped tires, power steering, power brakes, and the rear speed alert. The car was purchased from a collector in West Virginia, and I brought it back to California. The car originated in Corpus Christi, Texas, was then purchased by a state trooper, went to West Virginia. There it went on blocks for 3 years as an investment, purchased from the guy I got it from, who was the third owner. He showed the car extensively for 8 years on the East Coast, won NCCC 26 different times with the car. Then I purchased it from him and brought it out and brought it up to NCRS standards. The car, as far as I'm concerned, won't be sold while I own it. I'm looking to promote it from coast to coast. It just finished a showing in Monterey, California. Next heading for Cypress Gardens, Florida, for the winter regional meet.
The car's condition and success at shows has enabled Mike to place its value at some $75,000. The convertible was outselling the coupe in 1967 as the T-top had not yet appeared. this may be one of the finest examples existing.
This black Corvette, 1967, 427, 435, was purchased from a collector in Houston, Texas. A very meticulous owner. He showed the car in Bloomington last year where it scored 99 plus points. It is equipped with factory 435, side pipes, red striped tires, convertible, and black on black. Everybody in the country now today is looking for a 67, 427, 435 convertible. This is the finest one in the country. Scored 99 plus points at Bloomington, Illinois, 1986. And the 435 engine is the most sought after because it's still street legal. You can drive it, you can get gas for it, and it's the highest horse they offered that year.
If $75,000 or $80,000 is too much to spend, you can probably find 68 and later cars for a lot less money. The Corvette received only subtle changes throughout the 70s. 1973 saw the introduction of the plastic nose, but Chevrolet was concentrating on the Clean Air Act. Emissions were a priority, especially with the big block engines. Maintaining performance and drivability was not an easy task for any of the manufacturers. Special edition models always attract attention, but in the hands of owners who love to be different, the Corvette was born to be wild. After years of waiting, the Corvette finally got a much-needed redesign in 1984. The car was very handsome. Performance was excellent and handling was superb. A convertible has been added that makes the newest Vette sure to become one of the all-time ragtop classics. The Corvette has held up well in handling and performance. The lateral acceleration figures generated by the Corvette have become the standard by which other sports cars are compared. It is constantly being tested by automotive magazines and tire companies, all seeking to achieve that ultimate lateral acceleration of 1G. While it's easy for race cars to achieve this figure on slicks, it's another story trying to achieve it on a street car with normal street tires. The Corvette has become a world-class sports car in the truest sense of the word.